Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to another Adobe Live. I'm your host, Fabiola Lara, and today on the stream, we're joined by illustrator and animator Storm Stewart, all the way from London. Give it up for Storm. So pumped to have you here today, Stormy. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our new Adobe Live channel on YouTube to stay up to date on the latest streams, participate in our Adobe Live community here, and so much more. And remember, if you missed the previous stream, you can view the replay on Behance or YouTube. Check out the illustration live stream with Danny Poland as she shows you how to sketch and vectorize your illustrations to create movement in your art. Now, before we get into your stream, Stormy, I want to remind everyone that whether you're tuning in from YouTube or Behance, you can drop your questions for Storm in the chat. So bring us your questions and we'll make sure she gets them on the stream. Now, let me see who I have in the chat here for you today. We have John, we have Wade, we have Gareth. We have so many amazing people ready to watch this stream today, Stormy. So why don't you start things off by first introducing yourself and then tell us what we're getting into today. I am so excited for your stream. Let me know.
Thank you so much, Fabiola. Hi, everyone. My name is Storm. You can call me Stormy. I think she introduced me pretty well already. I guess you could call me a bit of a 2D generalist as well. I tend to do a lot of work here on Adobe with illustrations and animations. We tend to hop between the two in each different project. I think I must just get bored and I'm worried that I'm going to forget something. So each project we tend to hop between one or the other. I'm actually a traditionally trained animator. That is my first career. And I started all the way back in 2011. Yeah,
that makes so much sense, honestly. But
really,
look, this reel is so amazing. Yeah, because how else would we be so amazing at animating? I mean, I know there's a lot of self-taught folks, but still, like, you have experience in this. Look at these graphics that you're showing. This is all your work, right?
Yes, some of my earliest work when I first started as an animator. I was full-time for 2 years, and that was a hugely pivotal experience for me in my creative career. If nothing else, it really taught me how to get up to speed, because there is nothing like working in the commercial industry as an animator. You have to be so quick, and it really got me up to speed. But what we're going to be doing today, as you can see on screen, our last project, we were creating some summer icons, and I tend to go half and half between two programs, in Illustrator and After Effects. So we're going to create something in Illustrator, and then we are going to bring it over to animate in After Effects. This is what we did last. We started with our little ghosties on the left, and then we animated them on the right. So we're going to work on creating a simple shape and then make it loop seamlessly.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this, because to me as an illustrator, I can like visualize how we can create something and how I want it to like look in my head and make it, work on the screen. But then when I start to add emotion to it, my brain kind of like breaks a bit. So I'm really excited to see how you're gonna, like, your process for doing this, because you are such a pro and those animations are like just so smooth and,
not, thank you so much.
Very like dynamic in a way that I can't even begin to like think about when I go to plan an animation. So I'm so pumped for this stream. Everyone, be sure to drop your questions for Stormy in the chat, because she's clearly a pro. So if you have questions about anything, drop them. Okay, Stormy, so where are we starting today? Give me a lay of the land here.
So if anyone in the chat is familiar with my streams, we have been focusing on the spooky season. It's October. No one come for me for my last project being a summer themed one. It took me a while to get around to it, okay? So we're working through some October themes. So today I decided we're going to make a looping animation with cauldrons. What we're not going to do is judge my sketch work, okay? This is just, you get an idea for what we're doing.
I love it.
It would be fun if we did a cauldron. I have two ideas for it. Either we're going to have a lid opening and closing, and each time we see a different concoction of things bubbling in the center, or we're going to have a stick kind of magically stirring on its own.
Ooh.
I would say, just as a I don't know, tips and tricks. I don't tend to do this on my own stream, so you guys are lucky. You get a more polished version of Stormy, but planning out your animation, at least the movements or what you have in mind before you get started, really, really cuts down on a lot of thinking and planning time. So this is the idea.
Okay, these are two amazing ideas. I like these pictures that you've included in your sketches. I think first off, doing that is so smart. Like we can just drag in pictures to our sketches and just get the ideas out there. That's brilliant. And what I am a little confused what's in these cauldrons. Can you explain this concept a little bit?
Well, I actually just I don't know. I don't feel like witches are the best chefs. I don't think they're working with the best ingredients. So I just thought it's going to be fun to pop weird and wonderful ingredients. I don't know. Maybe you guys in the chats can give me an idea of what we can put in the cauldron as we get going. I just found some images that I thought would be fun.
I love both of these. I was just like, it's unusual. I've never seen a cauldron like this, and I think that's what makes this stream even more exciting. You have to stick around to see the final product.
Yes.
So I love both. We can ask the chat which one they prefer. If you want to comment top or bottom or one or two, you can vote which one. I'm thinking, it's so tough. Which one are you more inclined to do, Stormy?
I think I'm probably more inclined to do the top one with the lid opening and closing, just because I think it gives me a lot more freedom to play with the ingredients that are going to be inside the pot. Just thinking when you're animating, especially if you're trying to do a looping animation, the less moving parts, the better. So if I was to do the one with the rotating stick, I'm going to have to probably do a lot of masking or things like that, which isn't a problem, but given the sort of timescale we're working with in this particular stream, I just thought I'd throw it out
we
there
could be
just
cutting
in
it
case.
Close. Yeah.
Maybe.
I say we do the top one because I think it'll be easier for people to follow along, right? If this is like your first time dipping your toes into animation and you want to follow or do some of the things that you're going to show us in After Effects tomorrow, that one's probably going to be a little bit easier to follow. And I also really like those elements in that cauldron a little bit more. I think the randomer, the better. They're just kind of funny. So I want to see that. Like, I want to see you draw a crab or whatever. Is that a lobster? I can't see it anymore.
I think it's a crab. I think it's a crab. Yeah.
Let's do it. I vote top, and so do some folks in the chat. So
great.
Let's go for it.
So first of all, I'm just going to start with building the basic shapes. This is one thing I learned from my little sister. She tends to work more in 3D, but she taught me a lot about working in shapes, first of all. Because I don't know, when I first started learning how to draw and how to animate, it's very easy to overcomplicate what you're doing. And my sister always told me, just break it down into the basic shapes and kind of building from there. So if you're familiar with, I guess, the 3D principles, you're starting with circles or squares, and then you kind of cut into it from there. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that they teach in art school too. They're just like, make you squint your eyes and kind of envision everything as just circles and squares and triangles to help you start drawing. So I feel like this is just bringing that element or that technique into the digital world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're already taking shape here. I can see this cauldron already, the little feet. I love your work. It's so stylized, but so bubbly and cute. And I say bubbly because a lot of it, I think, now that I'm reflecting, is pretty rounded. So kind of, it's like cute and fun. And I think that's why I'm really excited. One of the reasons I'm really excited to see this is because you're taking something that's maybe not the cutest, and I know you're going to make it really adorable.
Thank you. Cute is definitely not usually my area of expertise. I think if you go back far enough in my Adobe portfolio, you can see where I did a little bit more semi-realistic sketch work, and that was definitely an area I was a lot more comfortable with.
But you really come into your own with this.
I'm finding that I'm really enjoying it. There is definitely a certain skill that is required to be able to take an item or an object and then simplify it so much that it's still recognizable and still visually appealing. And I quite like that challenge.
It is. It's harder than it seems. Like people
Ooh.
always think that by stylizing, you're like making it easier on yourself or something, but it's really not because now you have to reimagine what something like that would look like in your world. And you have to make a lot more decisions because your world is made up, as opposed to drawing something more realistically, where there's less room for doubt. And now you're introducing all these fun, rounded, stylized elements instead.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you've been using this ellipse tool to map out your cauldron. And I saw your sketch, we have your sketch here on the left that you said not to criticize. I was wondering, do you usually sketch digitally? Do you have a traditional sketchbook? Like, what is your involvement with sketching and all? What's your process with it?
Oh, goodness. I think I definitely used to sketch a lot more before I went digital. I
Yeah.
miss working traditionally, but it's one of those things that I simply don't have the time for.
Hmm.
And a lot of my sketch work now, if I do sketch, is done on Photoshop or, well, these were done in Photoshop.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you use like do you
a
use a
Wacom
Wacom?
tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Perfect.
have a Wacom tablet. The one that I use is a Intuos. Goodness, it's the Intuos Pro Medium. It's like the A4.
Cool. Good
No, yeah,
size.
A4. But interestingly enough, someone asked me this yesterday on stream if I was doing that with Illustrator. I do not like using my Wacom tablet if I'm working in Illustrator or on After Effects. I just don't feel like I have the sort of accuracy that I would need.
Oh,
So I tend to work
interesting.
with the mouse predominantly on
So
this.
right now you're working with the mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. I can kind of see that just because Illustrator, you don't have to really draw your own elements, like especially if you're shape building and stuff like that. But in
Yeah.
something like Photoshop with all of the cool pixel brushes, it's pretty comfortable to use something like a Wacom. I'm not sure. Um, so I totally get that because I can see on the left with your sketches that they're like freehanded. So
Yeah.
unless
No,
that's
that's
a photo you found from
no. But on the
very
topic of
specific.
photos, I know it can be quite a touchy subject for a lot of artists using references and images like that. I always recommend people some stock image websites. The images on the right I got from one of my favorites called Pexels. They have tons and tons of images and videos that are royalty free that I use a lot for reference myself. And this one was from a website called Free PNG, which is very random, but you just type in lemon or pineapple and you've got a transparent image of a lemon and a pineapple. But
That's
I'm a
perfect
huge,
to like
yeah,
get the concepts down because sometimes you're just trying to see like just if it would work for you before you even want to commit to it, right?
absolutely. I'm a huge advocate for using references. I know it can be a bit of a dicey subject for some people. They're like, I don't use references, but I'm just like, you have to have a base in it somewhere. Don't be afraid to use a reference. You could be a reference yourself. I'm in my illustration streams, I'm often the subject. I'll take photos of myself and I will use that to model and work out how something looks. Like, don't be afraid to use a reference if you need to.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like there is uh some desire to say you're an illustrator who never uses reference for some reason. It's almost like toughing it out or something, but there's like really no need. Like even when you draw from life, that's a reference.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
that's like one of the hardest things to do is to draw from life
Mm.
realistically. So why not just use references? Especially, I really think this is great when you're trying to explore like your own stylized world because you have to then take that reference and reinterpret it and through this lens that you've chosen. And I think that's kind of going to strengthen the world, right? Because you can capture the details versus like if you had asked me to draw a cauldron from the top of my head, I would have forgotten that there's like, I would have just drawn like a circle essentially, because I would have forgotten the handles, the legs, like the
Exactly.
lip, and those are all the things that make it come to life.
Oh, completely. Like if you got me to draw a horse from scratch, it would look like a
Oh my
3-year-old did it.
gosh.
I could not. I would have to use a
Never.
reference, and everything that is coming from your head anyway, you had a reference at some point in time to be able to get to that in the first place, you know? So
Yes.
don't
So
suffer.
don't suffer. No need to suffer, especially now in like this digital world where it's like so easy to pull up the references right next to where you're illustrating. And I think that's just like strengthening your own artwork. I don't think there's any harm in that. I
Hmm.
love that you have the photo references here as well as your sketch. Why do you think it's beneficial for you to have the photo reference? Because some people don't bring the photo reference in; they'll just do a sketch and keep the sketch. So I'm curious, because I've seen you do it in a couple of your streams where you bring in a lot of different photos. So I'm like, tell me more about that.
Well, I think for me, there's always different elements from each image that I want to bring in. I don't want to copy it exactly. There
Hmm.
might be an element of it that I like more, like the legs you can see I've referenced
Yeah,
here at least, or like the shape of the handle or what's in it, or the angle or something like that. And it's just useful for me to have an immediate reference point, I think, based off my time in the animation industry. Certainly, to strengthen the point of using references and shortcuts, you have to work so quickly. So, the less you're wasting time trying to work something out, the more
that's
effective you're
very
going to be.
true. That's
So,
very true, especially when you're. I hadn't even considered the angles.
mm,
That's definitely going to be a lot easier if you have a photo reference to keep everything kind of in the same perspective, and even like shadows, like lighting,
yeah,
if you're
exactly.
going to add that element. Do you ever bring in? I gave it away because I know that you do. But when you're putting in like a mood board, what kind of other elements aside from the reference photo do you like to bring in?
I like to use color.
Mhm.
One of my other favorite resources is Adobe Color. That's what it's called, isn't it? Adobe
I think
Color.
so.
I
Yes.
think, yeah. I think it used to be called Cooler with like a K or a U, and I think it's changed. And I love that. I think every artist has a weak spot, and I'm not afraid to own up that mine is color theory. It's not my strongest subject, so I like to get references and color themes and palettes, which we could actually probably do here today. Um, I go
Yeah.
into Adobe Color, and then I pick a subject, and then, well, if you're not familiar with it, maybe we can bring it up and I can show you guys.
Grab one for today, maybe.
Oh, hang on.
No problem. Oh, I'm loving how this little cauldron is coming together already. I
Mm.
feel like I'm gonna miss say the word cauldron. For some reason, it just I get really in my head about that all pronunciation while I'm streaming. Kind of, I get really self aware of, and then I mess it up. Ooh, okay, here we are. Perfect.
Right, here we've got Adobe Color. Here we go. So what I tend to do, how eat where oh, it's up there. I can't see it. It's hidden behind. Oh, there it
Oh.
is. Ah, goodness. All right. So, explore. So what I tend to do from
Mhm.
here is type I don't know. Let's type
Like Halloween
Halloween. Exactly.
in sync together on the stream.
Teamwork. Right. So from here, you've got a whole bunch of, some of them are user generated, I think, as well,
Hmm.
but color themes and palettes, which is so useful. Like I'll type in summer or watermelon, and then I've got like a preset set
Yeah.
of colors,
It's
which
so
is
handy
so
because
helpful.
sometimes your initial color, like colorscape, if you don't explore color a lot, might be really limited. And then here you kind of open your world up. Because immediately I would have just thought like black and then like yellow and maybe an orange. But here, by getting some inspiration from other people, we have some of those deep reds, just like richer colors to bring it to life and get out of your own safety net, almost safety, what is it, comfort zone with color,
Yeah.
by exploring some other ones. Okay, so Did you add one of those?
I think I did. I'm not sure where it's.
Gotta
You know, I'm going to do it the way that I know how to do it normally.
do it the
So
way
I'm
you
just
do
going to
it.
download the JPEG and then I'm
Okay.
going to open it up and drop it in.
Hey, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So on my downloads, there we go.
Boom.
And
So handy.
this is how I tend to work with color. I'll pop that up there, and then just using the eyedropper tool, I can easily refer to it. Which is good. These colors are definitely not the final colors. I'm just, again, like you mentioned, mapping it out.
Yeah, now at least we have like a starter set of colors while you're creating, and then later you can refine.
Exactly.
So can you tell me what you're doing with those tiny little circles?
What are
they supposed to be?
They're supposed to be like little feet on the bottom of the cauldron. I just thought it looked a little bit boring, so I thought, I can add something else to it here.
Oh, I see, like a more decorative foot. Yeah. For a second, I thought maybe you're doing some sort of shadow. That's why I was asking. I was like, is that something that's going to come in the animation later, and I just can't see it in my head right now? But okay.
No, this is just me trying to make it a little bit decorative. The thing is, I can do that with these elements here because this isn't going to be moving. In either of the ideas, these aren't going to be animated. So I can, oh dear, I can get a little bit more fancy with these. Generally speaking, well, unless you're that sort of person, which if you are, then that's fine. But I think I would like to keep it simple just so I can.
I would agree with that. I feel like whenever I explore animating, I definitely tend to do that. You want to kind of keep it straightforward because you know how much work the actual animation will take, even if it looks simple. Yes, Richard, a clawfoot like on a tub. Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what.
A clawfoot. Is that what it's called? I learned something new today.
I know. I wasn't sure. I'm like, I wanted to talk more about it, but then I was at a loss for words. So thank you, Richard, for introducing us the proper terminology. Gorgeous little cauldron. I'm going to say it a million different ways. Okay. So where are you going next here? Is that cauldron done? Or are you adding something else? I'm curious.
I'm debating on whether, so here's the thing when it comes to making cute, simple things, right? It is very easy to take a step too far and make it too complicated, trying to refine and add little details. So I'm trying to work out whether or not I want to add like a highlight or a gradient, or whether that's entirely necessary, or if that's going to make things a little bit too complicated. And I'm not sure yet if I want to add this handle, because again, it's not going to move. And then I suppose the bulk of what I need to do is create things to bubble in the cauldron as well.
That's true. The most important thing would be the animated elements.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
You know, it's also adorable to add cute little elements to the part that doesn't move, knowing that you don't have to mess with it later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Ooh. Why have you gone transparent? Well, that's what they meant to do.
Undo.
Undo.
Perfect. No problem. Well, I wonder if just that setting is transparent. If it always was?
It's because it's at the bottom and everything else is darker on top of it. That's why.
Oh, okay. So it's not transparent.
Troubleshooting on the
on top. Got it.
Yeah.
It's an optical illusion. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, Stormy, I know you have this like cute style that you've been working on and all that. Do you have like somewhere you go for this kind of stylized inspiration, or where do you get your inspiration for this little world of yours?
My sister.
Ooh.
Most definitely my sister. I'm not sure if you guys remember the cute little ghost earlier that had the whole patterns on his sheets and the happy little face. My sister, she brings me little things like this, and they have just cute little faces on them, and my sister is 100% the embodiment of cuteness, so she's the one that inspires me with a lot of these things.
Oh my gosh, that's so flattering to say of your little sister. You're speaking so highly of your little sister. I feel like I'm used to little sister slander, you know, everyone's like, you know, big sisters only. As a little sister myself,
Oh
I'm
no.
very happy to hear this. And I love that she brings you little cute gifts. That plushie was adorable. I myself have here a little I think it's like some sort of bread plushie that I use for my
Oh, I
wrist.
saw it on your Instagram.
Yes, I'm
That's
very
very
excited.
cute.
I'm very into it. So your sister gives you that, and do you follow any other artists that have like this very stylized, cute, uh, not exactly the same because it's their own work, but where
Mm.
you get inspiration for this kind of stuff?
Um,
I'm just curious how you like started to develop this cute style. Did it just come out of nowhere? Where do you get the inspo?
Goodness. If
It's
I don't think there is one that I can really think of off the top of my head. I think after a while it becomes like you say, the style kind
just
of
like
becomes an
it's
amalgamation of everything that you've
yes,
kind of absorbed over time. And there hasn't really been one particular artist recently. I think,
because
gosh, even my first, yeah.
right now it's kind of reminding me sort of like Pusheen and like that kind of world, you
Oh,
know? I'm like, that Pusheen's world and your world are different, but I could see a world where,
mm.
they do a crossover,
I love that.
crossover
That's a
event.
huge compliment. I
Yes,
mean,
it's
you
adorable.
do absorb this sort of these art styles through osmosis. Like I didn't even clock that. But yeah,
Yes.
there's like Pusheen, there's my sister, again, my sister.
What's
Uh sh she
Shout her
loves
out. Shout her out for everyone. Everyone's asking, who's your sister?
my little sister is Pixie Pew. You guys might be familiar with her already. She's already been on Adobe Live, and she has a show that she does, I think, bi-weekly with Adobe.
So
Um,
cute.
and she is obsessed with a character called Ryan the Lion. And the whole group, kind of like Pusheen, is called Cacao and
Oh,
Friends, and it's
I'm gonna
just super cute, and she loves it. She has everything Cacao, and I guess maybe I'm always seeing it, and I'm just like, eh.
Yes, I could totally see the relation there. And I love that that she loves that. Like that's her obsession. I think like how adorable, right? Like why don't you just insert extra cuteness into your life? Why not, you know?
Why not? I mean, it makes me happy, and it can't be all that bad if it makes me
No,
happy.
it's adorable. I love it. And I love when like the brands that, like Pusheen or like Sanrio or like the one you just mentioned that now escapes my brain, the lion. Would you say?
Cacao,
Cacao.
yes.
Yeah, they all have they have such cool merch that you can just
Mm.
like insert cuteness into your life with their merch products. Have you ever thought about creating like a plushie or anything like that?
Goodness. No, but after the last set of stickers, well, the icons, the summer
Yes, the
icons that
summer
we made,
icons.
people were suggesting that maybe I should, put them somewhere. And most of the projects that I do, unless I'm working specifically for a private client, I'm just kind of making it for the fun of making it. So I don't
Yeah.
really think past the point of just it's done and
Yes.
then I move on to the next one, which is very bad of me. You think a little bit more ahead. Don't be like me. But yeah, I don't know. I
I
guess if
could
people
see
like
it.
them,
I
then
could
I
see a
could.
world. Yeah, I could see a world. I mean, I think plushies are like that sounds kind of hard, like
Mm,
it's a little bit more intimidating to start off with, but I could see you creating sticker sheets and stuff like that. No problem. I think maybe because tell me if this rings true for you.
mm,
Maybe because you consider yourself like an animator, maybe that's kind of the final product for you, the animation of it all and the movement.
mm.
That then you don't like, you're not thinking all the time about physical products, your
Yeah,
work in relation to that.
maybe I suppose so. Because yeah, as you say, once the animation's done, we're done
We're
with
done.
it,
We're just
really.
enjoying the digital nature of it and enjoying the animation. There's no what else is there to
Yeah,
do with it?
it moves. I am
Yes.
happy. Oh, I have done this the wrong way around. This happens from time to time. Don't worry about it. It's fine, guys. It's fine.
Let's see.
Um,
you're just adding a stroke to that, or are you
Yes.
okay?
One thing I love about streaming on Behance is that the community is so helpful. Like, I don't know if it's
Yes.
obvious to you guys now, but this is not my main program. My main program is After Effects and Photoshop. That's what I trained in. That's what I did for most of my professional career.
Mm-hmm.
So when we came to doing Illustrator projects, I was like, I feel like challenging myself with this. It's not my main program, so let's see how we get on. Oh, I know what's happened now.
And a million different things can happen too. And I also think there's a million different ways to accomplish the same effect in Adobe programs. So it's cool to kind of get people's input whenever they're like, oh, I would do it this way, or try doing it this way. Maybe it'll give you less trouble. But there's also no right or wrong way if it achieves the same effect.
No, absolutely not. It's just been nice to have people there to be like, oh, I've used this program for a while. Maybe this tip will help you. And it's so nice that people are just willing to share their knowledge,
Yeah, I am so curious how you're building this handle. I thought it was a shape with an outline, but now
it is. So this is one of the things that I learned.
Strokes?
Yep, this is one of the things that a viewer RB had taught me ages ago, that you can stack strokes. I did not know that. I was just thinking I'm just gonna have to like layer different shapes on top of each other, but if you go onto appearance and paths, you can actually add extra strokes, add extra fills, add different styles, all on that one layer. And
I thought you had like made that stroke into a shape and added another stroke to it.
No.
Wow, this is so handy. Okay, so are you going to repeat that on the left side?
Yes, so I'll go a little bit slower for anyone that was curious about how I did that.
Definitely.
So first of all, I've got the shape selected, and then in the appearance tab, if you can't find it, go up to window and then appearance, and that will, well, I've just made it go away, but usually it will make it turn up. There you go. And then you're presented with your stroke, your fill, whatever you've got there. If you go down to the bottom and hover over this icon here, it shows you can add a new stroke. Click on that, and that's pretty much it. There is your new stroke. And it's more or less the same as, excuse me, layers in Photoshop. What's on the bottom versus what's on the top is going to show up on the top.
Wow.
So,
okay, that is so cool. And then you still have you can fully customize each stroke, right?
I can change the thickness of the stroke. I can change the color of the stroke, which I want to be black. And there you go. So that's how you give a stroke a stroke.
That's perfect. I think it looks really tidy that way, and it's just so simple, because then if you want to change anything, it's like you don't have to reverse build, go back in time and rebuild it or anything like that. So that's so handy. And do you think how much do you think about like your layers and kind of how you're organizing everything while you're illustrating, when you take into consideration the fact that you're going to bring it into After Effects later, right? Like, because typically you should just stay organized as an illustrator, like, that's what everyone says they do. But when you actually have to animate it, you really have to stay organized. Because otherwise animating, I imagine, is going to be crazy. So what is your process for your layers and all of that kind of stuff?
So regulars are going to find this funny. They know I am notoriously bad with layers normally when I'm working in Photoshop. I call it one layer hype when I'm illustrating, because I refuse to have more than one layer, and that's just the way that I work, because it's simpler, but it is definitely not best practice. When right now I'm just building quite quickly just so I can get the concept down for myself, but afterwards I will go back through, group things to what's going to be moving and what's going to be stationary, and then I'm going to label them. I find it not as important in Photoshop to label my layers, because I'm not going back to them most likely. I can just build and build and build. But when you get into something like After Effects and you're constantly going back and referring to different things to move them, it gets very messy very quickly. Certainly once you're in After Effects, you need to be layering, you need to be color coding, you need to be naming things. So until we get too close to the end of this project, this build, the layers are gonna look a little bit messy, but we'll go back and we'll group things and then we'll.
I like that we're getting a real like view of what it's like, because I agree. I feel like I wasn't sure, because you have so much animation experience, if you were like extra organized from the beginning. Because in my experience, yeah, I kind of work like you, where I just let me focus on the illustration and I'll go organize it once everything's like done. But then you are finding yourself grouping and ungrouping and kind of sometimes like just messing with the layers a little to get them in an organized state. So that's why I wanted to ask like how far ahead you're thinking. But honestly, I like that we're on the same page. Just do the illustration work, and then once you have it all set exactly how you like visually, you can worry about the motion.
I mean, it really depends on your workflow and the way your mind works. I might have had an idea, and if I'm spending so much time getting myself organized, that might go. If I have an idea that I need to get down, I need to get it down now, and then maybe I just get into a flow, and I can always go back later. Adobe programs, generally speaking, are very forgiving with how far you can, undo and redo, and a lot of it's very non-destructive, so you have quite a lot of leeway.
I would agree
to
with
mess
that,
with things,
especially when you're working in Illustrator, where like nothing is really getting destroyed by changing it or anything like that too much. Like when you transform something in Photoshop one too many times because you were indecisive, and then you're like, oh no, maybe I need to redraw it. That's not going to happen in Illustrator, so you have a lot of leeway.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I think I'm a little bit happier with the cauldron. Oopsie. Not with the
as soon as you said that, you like moved it all,
I break
you broke it all.
Very, very, very typical.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this handle can be in front. Like there are lots of little things you can do to kind of give the illusion of depth.
Yeah.
When you're working in a on a 2D space. So for example, here with the legs, I've made them a little bit darker, and the one that's in front is a little bit lighter. It just kind of gives the illusion without it being in an actual 3D space.
I agree with that. I noticed that the subtleties in the legs really help. I think it looks, honestly, I love the claw foot effect, but it also they look like cute little kitten paws or something. Like it just is so adorable.
Yeah, this is the thing.
It's a lot cuter than when it was plain. Okay, so now the cauldron is done.
Yes.
For now, right? Because we can always change our minds.
Absolutely.
What are you starting with, you think? Are we going to the elements? Are we going to the lid? Like what?
Actually, you just reminded me. I was thinking there is something missing. It's the lid. I've forgotten the lid. So we'll probably just quickly make the lid as well. And looking to my reference here, is this black? This isn't black. I don't know. This ain't black. There we go. That is probably going to be on the same sort of perspective, and I'm probably not going to force any sort of perspective on that. So on the separate layer, I might just quickly mock that up.
Okay. So now we have a lid layer.
Yeah. And because we're working with such simple shapes, once again, I don't really have to worry too much about, whether something is going to match. See, pretty much there we've got this same shape. It's already, you can kind of see what I'm going for here.
Perfect.
It fits. It's works.
A perfect fit. It's a perfect fit. Who would have thought?
And maybe we just, in the similar way that we did this, we might just add a handle on the top. And we will remove the fill.
If you like, what's it called? Dropper tool. I just forgot that. Is it called dropper tool? If you
the eyedropper.
The eyedropper. If you eyedrop the 2 strokes, does it work?
No, I don't think. Well, let's try it. I don't believe it does. Ooh.
Okay. Interesting.
No,
You might have to copy or paste it or something.
Yeah. But it was fairly simple to do, so we can. I'm not actually too sure because this is a fairly new trick for myself. So let's experiment with this one together. We tend to do a lot of experimentation on my streams as well.
Let's see what works out, and if anyone in the chat has it. Oh wait, what did you just do?
I pasted, but it didn't paste it in the appearance tab. I wonder if you have to like
click on the selection where it says no selection, like right under appearance, and then I think it matters like where
there.
But I don't know if you can click any of that. Like what if you paste now?
No.
Interesting.
There we go. We discovered that one together.
I wonder what there has to be a way to do it. Maybe someone will know.
Yeah, I bet there is.
Okay, we have a suggestion from Jane Bradbury. Thank you so much for this. They say it will eye drop, but you have to click the actual path. So, dun dun. Let's see. I don't know.
Okay, so
I'm making you do this like 4 times. Okay. See, does it work? It did something.
It worked. Jane, you're a genius. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's why working with the live stream is so cool. Everyone in our Adobe community is amazing. Thanks for that tip. Now you know. We all learn together.
Yup. There we go. I just kind of want to... I don't know if I want this. Might get rid of these anchor points. And then we've got... So for anyone that missed that, because I might have done that a little bit quickly.
Yeah.
I just use the shortcut key C, which activates the Scissors tool. And with that, you can cut paths and anchor points if you want to like cut things in half or move them. So that's what I did to get rid of the lower half of this circles instead of having a full circle. So it looks more like a lid now.
So cute, and it matches perfectly. Big huge shout out to Jane for that tip. And we have a question from your sister, I believe, asking, would this be easy to animate if Storm wanted to, due to the layers she's created? Hold on, did I misread that? Pixie, Pew, you might have to redrop in that question because I feel like I read it weird. But maybe just the question is, would this be easy to animate with the neat layers? I'm sorry, I'm not sure. At first I read that question and it made sense. Now I'm reading it again. It's not making sense to me. So you could drop your question again and we'll get to it.
So I think we've got our 2 layers. We've got our lid. And we've got our base, which I think is fine as it is because I'm not intending to move that at all. So now comes the fun part. We can start adding things into the cauldron.
Okay, I have the question from Pixie, simplified for my brain. Would this be easy to animate? Question mark.
Yeah, it would be fairly easy to animate. The thing is, the elements, so when you go into making this project, it's kind of a good idea to have in mind what you're planning on moving, because that informs how you're going to design it. Now, the cauldron itself is quite simple, and the elements that I've separated are the base and the lid, because I know I want to move these 2 elements. I want to move this up and down. Things that I want to animate are going to be inside the cauldron. So
perfect.
This time you design with that in mind.
On Adobe Live this time, she's staying extra organized in preparation for tomorrow's animation segment of the same stream. I want to give a little shout out for anyone who's just joined our stream. We're here with Storm Stewart, illustrating and animating this adorable cauldron. Remember that if you are tuning in from YouTube or just in general, remember to hit subscribe on our Adobe Live channel so you never miss a stream. Because imagine if you would have missed this amazing stream. What a shame. You don't want that to happen. Go ahead, hit subscribe so you never miss it and you can be a part of our amazing Adobe community. Also, if you're here and you're like, how is Stormy doing this or that? Drop it in the chat. We have a chat going. You can drop your questions from YouTube or Behance, wherever you are, drop them in and I'll be sure that Stormy gets them. So, Stormy, back to you in the studio. What are you working on next?
So, I'm making an eyeball. I figured you have to have an eyeball in the witch's cauldron. You just must, no? I think you have to.
You have to. It wouldn't be a spooky cauldron without a little eyeball. Yeah.
Exactly.
Plus, they always say to put like eyes in your artwork to make it really compelling, you know, because like people are attracted to eyes. Like if you see a pair of eyes, you want to look at it. So we're also applying some psychology here.
I like the way you think.
You know, anything to get your work in front of some eyeballs. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. And
I think we're gonna make this a nice bright blue eyeball, maybe.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, and it needs a pupil.
I like to see how people always like draw an eye, because for me they're just dots, and now you have like 4 elements in this eyeball. It's cute. I like it.
See, now this is one of those things that I'm like, I wish I had a reference for this. I didn't bring myself a reference for this one. So I'm going off the top of my head.
You're going off the top of your head. Yeah. That looks really good. Because you want it to have like, you want it to have, you know, I'm not in a skull appearance.
Exactly.
You know, like shocked in the face. It's perfect.
There we go. There's one. Be simple as that. What else could we add in here? What's another fairly disgusting thing that probably shouldn't be in someone's food?
Any sort of bug.
Oh, a bug. All right.
You do have the crab, but a bug could also work.
Oh, a crab. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this one.
So that's up to you.
This is true. Let's actually get another image of a crab, because this one's like half cut off, so you guys can see the sort of references that I go and find, if I can remember.
Pixels?
No, it was
PNG.
3 PNGs. There we go.
I like this. So I like doing this together with you. We can all be invested.
Yes. So this is my this is where I got all my weird and wonderful things. So let's, what was it? It was a crab. I think we found a crab. So
it's a crab, yeah.
Oh no, I'm on music. How did I get to music? Can we go back to the base? Thank you. All right, so they have such a huge library here. Oh, they've got insects. Would they come under animals? Are they animals, or like? Oh, there
crab?
It is.
Yeah, they're animals.
I was just thinking, is it like a crustacean? You know, like the scientific word.
Yeah. I don't know. If you ask me whether it's a mammal, I don't know. I'm genuinely out of my element.
Okay, here we go. This is a pretty good one.
Someone in the comments will let us know the scientific term for crab and what its categorization is, because we're artists and not biologists.
Exactly. There we go. Okay. There's our little crabby.
Perfect. Ready. It definitely is like a creepy thing to put in a stew with eyeballs.
Exactly. Oh, already made my first mistake. I've dropped it onto the eyeball layer. I don't want it there. It's going to be awkward.
It happens.
Yes.
Okay, you have a reference layer. Cool. Perfect.
I do. See, I'm trying to be organized just for you guys. You know, do as I say, not as I do.
In this case, do as you do, though.
That too. Just do everything. It's fine.
Do it. Okay, crab is a crustacean, and then somebody said invertebrate. I don't know if they're both related, but they both seem accurate. Okay, so breaking down this crab into simple shapes once again, right?
So starting off with the circle, and then using the selection. No, not that one. It's the direct selection tool. I can grab the handles and start moving them to create different shapes, because the crab's not exactly perfectly circular. It kind of goes in a little bit here. So really, it makes more sense to start from one of the main base shapes and then kind of shave into it. Yeah.
It's like, why would you freehand a circle when there's a ellipse tool?
Exactly.
It's just making more work for yourself.
Don't suffer, guys. I'm telling you, don't suffer.
Don't suffer. Use references and use the ellipse tool. That's the lesson. Okay, so doing cute the same little thing. Claw.
Yeah, same thing here. Another ellipse, warped a little bit to make a claw.
Adorable. I know that I'm gonna love this crab and it's just gonna be so cute. Okay, crustacean is a type of invertebrate. Thank you, Cubert, for the specific sentence. Because I'm like, is a crustacean always an invertebrate? We don't know. But this is great. Good to know. Crustacean is a type of invertebrate. Now we're all a little smarter.
Now we're all a little smarter. It's a bit wonky for me. I'm gonna... Oh, no, that's the duplicate. There we go. Going to smooth this out a little bit just by tweaking.
Yeah. Perfect. It's getting better and better. The perfect little pincher.
Exactly. He's in the stew, but it doesn't mean he can't be cute.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Okay.
So,
gorgeous.
And then, see, I would not be able to do this off the top of my head. Like, as long as I've been doing this. Yeah, as long as I've been doing this, guys, there are some things that I just do not know how to draw at the top of my head. And I don't expect anyone, unless this is your speciality, then, maybe fine.
Crustaceans.
But, exactly, like very specific speciality, but I don't see crabs all that often, so I'm not going to remember how to do them. So,
is there something that you feel like you could draw off the top of your head? I feel like every artist has one thing that they draw all the time. So I'm wondering if you do.
Strangely enough, thanks to my sister, it's probably food. I can draw food pretty well off the top of my head now, thanks to her.
Like what?
Recently, well, I say recently. So my sister and I used to do this thing where we would stream together on Behance, and she would get me to create food for a project she was working on. So, and I'm a big foodie. Food is life. So I would create apple pies. I think I love. Bread, sandwiches. I've made a lot of those. Drinks. I think you even saw on my little show reel I had a bunch of boba animating as well.
I was gonna bring those up.
I love
What's your
food.
favorite? Well, I have two questions for you. The first one would be, what's your favorite food? Do you have a favorite dish?
Oh, I should have prepared myself.
You entered this territory without having a favorite food in mind.
I know.
It's okay. Mine is
probably popcorn.
I don't even know. Popcorn. How do you have your popcorn?
I am a sweet and salty girl. I like the mix.
See, this is where we enter a cultural exchange, because in the US we don't have sweet popcorn. It's not offered.
You don't?
No, everyone in the chat, tell me what kind of popcorn they offer in your country, because in the US, really our only option is buttered. That's the only thing. And if you purchase it, they ask you if you want more butter. They don't ask you if you like, it's buttered popcorn and you can add butter to it, but that's it. That's what is offered. And what are the options in London?
You have sweet, you have salty, and then we have a whole range of gourmet popcorn. So you've got cheesy, you've got ones with toffee, you've got chili popcorn. You have all sorts. I'm really surprised that
okay, hold on. That's what I'm talking about. Theater popcorn. We do have caramel popcorn. But you have to buy it. It's not offered fresh anywhere.
Right. Okay.
You have to go to a special location for that. And even in the store, there's caramel popcorn. Everyone's yelling at me now, caramel popcorn. But you can't get caramel popcorn at the movie theaters. That. It's uncommon for there to be fresh caramel corn popcorn. In my opinion, I've never seen it at a theater. Everyone's hating on me. Let's see.
What?
Okay, no, they're not hating. I'm being critical. Caramel corn Cracker Jacks. Okay, that's a snack that you buy at a store. Are you buying your popcorn hot and fresh?
So the sweet and salty you can get fresh at the cinema.
See,
the rest
we
of
don't
it
have that
is in packets, but you buy them at the cinema. But you can buy them in supermarkets as well. But it's
I'm telling you, if you go to a movie theater here, you're going to be disappointed, Stormy, because they will not offer you sweet popcorn. You could sometimes, depending on the. Just to be clear, guys, I've been out of my home, but I'm telling you, it's not common. And the UK is just so much more advanced when it comes to cinema popcorn. So I'm just gonna say
I love that idea that we're advanced with cinema popcorn.
I agree. I stand by that.
I went to LA a couple years back and I did have like butter pop. We don't really get butter popcorn in the UK, at least not to my knowledge. So that was like a proper treat for me. And I'm like, oh my God, butter popcorn. I did not realize how salty it is. My
Very
goodness.
Salty. Very salty.
I nearly choked. It was like, I didn't get any drink because I'm one of those people that's like, I don't want to have to go to the toilet in the middle of the movie and miss something. So
yeah, I totally get that. And one time in Spain, I saw they had just salty popcorn, like without butter, just salted. That's probably what you're talking about in the UK. Like, do you have? It's just like popcorn with salt.
Yeah,
it's
just
not
with salt.
There's no butter, which to me is. It's really unheard of to just have salted popcorn. I mean, they do that kind of like at the grocery store when they're promoting it as like healthy, as a healthy snack. So, there's a lot of different popcorn styles. And here in the US, we're pretty sheltered from the fresh popcorn options. Everyone is going to be appalled. But anyway, okay, back to this crab. Tell me what's going on here because unless you're having crab popcorn, popcorn has
I bet it exists. I bet it exists. But yeah, so with this one, I actually worked with a slightly different shape. So I'm going to go back and do this manually again. So if anyone wants to follow along with what I was doing there, because I was using a couple of tools that I haven't used in this stream yet. So I started off by creating a rectangle. I basically want to make these shapes. And again, going back to what my sister taught me, you look at it and you think, what's the closest shape to it? These legs, I guess, look most similar to a rectangle to me. So that's where I started. Now, Illustrator has this really interesting function where if you see these little circles here, if you grab hold of them and drag them, it allows you to round out the shape, which is what I've done here because I want them to be a little bit softer. But before I did that, actually, I moved these anchors in a little bit because it tends to start small and get a little bit bigger. And then from that point, with the direct select tool, shortcut A selected, I grabbed hold of one of the corners and dragged it in, and then you've got a little soft thing starting from a rectangle. And from there, it's just a case of dragging and placing another leg at the bottom, and that's how I'm building these legs. But again, I can be quite adventurous with how I'm building this guy because I'm not planning on moving him much. He's probably going to bob up and down. He's not going to flail because I'm not that cruel. But
if you dedicated tomorrow's entire stream to getting him to look like he's flailing, that would be so funny. But not the best use of time, I would say.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna look great. And because I know that you work a lot with strokes on your work, is that the reason that you're not building like the leg as a single shape, right? Because you're gonna have those strokes that kind of add those divisions to the little segments of the leg.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, just in the same way that I was building the cauldron, I'm kind of building at speed, and then I'm going back and deciding how I want it to look visually, because actually a lot of the times I don't really know how I want something to be rendered fully yet.
Okay.
I might decide that the lines are a little bit too much. It might be a little bit too busy, and or
I'm
whatever.
getting ahead of myself because I'm eager, but I see what you're saying. It could go either way here. You never know on this stream.
Exactly. Okay. Ooh. So we've got 2 little legs there, but we need at least 6 more.
Yeah.
So I'm probably just going to copy and paste and then drag them. So just so this doesn't get too complicated, I'm going to start grouping these and then we can move them.
Makes sense. Yeah, because once you group it, then every time you click on it, you'll just
Yeah.
select the entire group, which is nice.
Which is useful because there's a lot of parts.
There's a lot of little legs here.
And there we go. And then I can go back in and tweak them so they don't look like I've copy and pasted them, even though I have definitely copy and pasted them. But we don't need to talk about that yet.
Work smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's the beauty of when you're working in Illustrator. It's really easy to just work a little bit more systematically. Okay, so now you're flipping them. Okay. And that's why you have a reference, because if you didn't have a reference, you wouldn't even realize that those ones, go a different direction.
Have we sold you on using references yet, guys? Because you should be using references if you're not.
Let me tell you, Stormy, no one is fighting us.
Good.
Everyone's on our side.
Good.
But we're here preaching. This is for the future watchers. It looks so good. When it didn't have the additional legs, it kind of looked like, like a bulked up crab, like it was ready to fight. And now with the little legs, it's like, okay, just normal standard crab.
He's a normal crabby chappy. Okay, so I think he definitely needs a stroke on him.
Definitely.
So I need to go back and reference how thick the strokes are and everything else, just to kind of keep the whole style cohesive, because it can be a little bit jarring if you've got thick lines here or thin lines here, unless they're deliberate. If you've not paid attention, something just looks off to me a lot of the time. So there we go. The eyeball is a 30 thickness, so I've made it here. Probably not going to have that be the same here, because
it might be too big.
Because they are too thin. So we will there we go. Work out what looks best. 10 actually looks pretty decent.
Looks nice. Yeah,
so we might go with 10 all around, which we can just reference with the eyedropper tool to make this quicker, which is shortcut I.
I just love that, because that's like something that you can't do when you're working like with pixel kind of work. It doesn't work as smoothly, and here it's just so nice.
Yeah, I have definitely
copy a style like that.
Fallen in love with Illustrator. I remember back in the day, it was one of the programs that I had the most trouble with learning, because it was similar enough but just different enough from Photoshop that none of my shortcuts worked quite the same way, and none of the tools work quite the same way, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. But after I've had a bit more time, I think I've spent maybe a year working properly in this. It's so much more sophisticated than I realized, and it's just been a joy to work in.
Yeah, I feel like once you get a grip of it, it's so pleasant. And I think a lot of people feel that way, where they feel a little intimidated by Illustrator. I actually want to ask the chat, everyone in the chat, let me know what your first Adobe kind of program was that you started with, because everyone has one where they're like, I latched onto this, Photoshop or Illustrator, or maybe it was like, for me, it was actually InDesign that I felt like the most comfortable with in the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that just happened to be, I was working at a student newspaper. And so that's where I kind of started with the Adobe programs. So, let us know in the chat what your first Adobe program was, the introduction. For me, it was InDesign, and then Photoshop, and then Illustrator. I kind of built up to Illustrator. And for you, Stormy, you said it was Photoshop where you were most comfortable first?
Yeah, Photoshop. Gosh, the first time I was messing around with Photoshop, I think I was still in school. And then, making my OCs and all that sort of jazz. I was doing that in Photoshop. And then once I graduated from uni and actually went into the workforce, the industry standard was After Effects. So that was I guess the program that I am strongest in now professionally.
And would you say, how long do you think it took you to learn Illustrator once you started playing with it? That's I see is a common question people have, is like, how long did it take you to be this proficient? Because they want to, I think, just see like where they are in their learning journey. So do you remember even like how, I know you've been working with these programs for a while now, but you know.
Illustrator, about a year, I think. Like you can go back and see on my profile like some of my first projects in Illustrator. And they look quite different where I'm still really working out what I want to do with the program and how it works compared to some of the more recent things I've done. And it's been about a year on and off playing with it, and I feel like I've only just scratched the surface, you know.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense though. There's a lot of similarities between the programs, but there's a lot of differences, and when you're trying to work out your style as well, it just takes a while to kind of get to a comfortable place. So take this as like a word of encouragement for anyone out there who's still trying to find their way in Illustrator. It takes time.
Yeah, and I'm not even working on it every day, and I feel like I've come in leaps and bounds over maybe 3 projects.
Yeah,
Messing
yeah,
around
yeah.
with it. You learn so much every time you boot up the program. So
And I think it's really handy that, there's so much content out on YouTube to help you, but there's also these live streams where, together we just learned about the double stroke. I had no idea. I've been doing plenty of hosting and I've never come across the double stroke. So, there's so many little secrets and extra ways to do things to help yourself out. So it's always, we're always learning is the truth.
yes, always be learning. Just go in with that sort of mindset. It's going to make your life so much easier. You'll find it a lot more enjoyable too.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're never going to hit a point where you're like, I'm done learning. There's nothing else I need to know. Okay, what are you working on here with this red circle?
So I'm thinking that we add an apple. Thinking Snow White, there's a witch in there. She gives like a juicy red apple. Kind of don't eat the apple sort of thing. I'm just kind of thinking of other things to put in the cauldron.
We can ask the chat.
Yeah, if you guys have
any...
All right,
chat, bring us your ideas for cauldron creepiness, right?
Yes, please. And something that I can model in about 5 minutes, ideally.
Yeah. Don't be saying like a full skeleton or something. That's going to be crazy. But bring your reasonable requests to us in the chat, please. Oh, I love this. Yeah, apple makes a lot of sense. Eyeballs. I'm trying to think. I feel like there should be maybe like a feather or something, right? Like
a feather.
Yeah, like as if there was a bird or a potion involved in this.
Oh yeah.
They
say like lizards' tails as well. I'm just thinking of like the stereotypical ingredients.
Exactly. So again, that's what we need to think about.
I started this one with a rectangle, and with the pen tool, if you hover over one of the anchor points, the pen tool actually changes its shape. I'm not sure if you can see the icon, but from a plus or a star to a minus. If you click on that, it gets rid of that line. So that's how I went from 4 sides to 3, just in case anyone doesn't know.
Cute. I like it. And I think those little, just learning those little tools that kind of help you take shapes and manipulate them really change the game when it comes to Illustrator, because in Photoshop you approach everything by, like, most of the time people get into it by drawing, and then if you start drawing freehand in Illustrator, it will feel more intimidating than if you start just with shapes and modifying shapes.
Goodness, I don't think I've ever drawn freehand in Illustrator. I think it would be overwhelming for me.
Yeah, it's pretty hard, and I think people always think they need to master the pen tool immediately, and it's like, maybe, yeah, that's not that necessary. It's nice to be able to use it when you need it, but you can get pretty far using just shape building.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, we have some suggestions here.
Oh.
Sweet and salty popcorn, Wade. Touchy subject. We have... Ooh, snails from Rob says snails.
Snails is a good one.
Kind of a good one, right? Let me see. I'm going to name some of them, and if any of them stick, we'll bring them up. So Trenton says candy corn. Hubert says snake, which might be interesting. Umacorn says batwing. Kind of cool. Elena says rat. Then we have... Yeah, rat, maybe like a rat tail could be cool. Clever Devlin says frog. Olena says claw, like a claw cat. boiling bubbles, which I think you had mentioned.
Yes.
You have to have that in the cauldron. And Clever Devlin says circus peanut candy. All right. And Gareth Williams says rattlesnake rattler. Yeah, snails, mushrooms, tear of a unicorn. Might be hard to draw, but you know,
might be a little hard to draw, guys.
Conceptually, you know, that's a lot of concept for one little small little tear. But I like it. Unicorn horn, maybe. There's a lot of really good ideas here.
Yeah, good ideas, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone in the chat, for all the creepy inspo.
Yes, I love it.
I just want to let you know, Stormy, we're at like the hour mark, just past it, just so you know what we're up to today. We have a couple more things to draw for this cauldron, but
yeah,
if you're new here, if you just started this stream, first off, remember to hit subscribe to the Adobe Live channel. We're here with animator and illustrator Storm Stewart drawing this spooky cauldron, and tomorrow she's going to be animating it. So stick around till tomorrow. Okay, so we have an apple, we have the eyeball, we've got a crab.
So I remember snail. I'm done with
snail.
the apple. And I'm gonna go back to my PNG website.
Okay.
And go find the insects.
Perfect. Ooh, insects.
Spider warning. I see a spider. Yeah. Just oh, there's no
There's no snail.
Roach, scorpion, ladybug.
Well,
can I search? I don't think that's the one I want to go to. No.
Darn.
I don't think there's a search here. I don't see snails, you guys.
Might have to just do a general.
Yeah. To Google.
Or Pexels or one of those, whatever you want.
Yeah. So Pexels, it gives me a good chance to show you my other favorite stock image website.
Yes.
You can search videos and photos, and it's all really high quality stuff. And the other great thing about it is that it gives you the artist's Instagram or something, because this is something artists is a touchy subject. People can reference you, but they very rarely give you credit for it. So, you know, this way you're able to link back, so you can see this guy, Invisible Power is the name of the photographer. If we go to download it, they've got a link to his Instagram that we can go to, and you know, you can always shout him out, which is always much appreciated, I think.
Yeah, that you're making some really good points here. Yeah, if you use references that aren't something that you took or you have, you know, explicit permission to use, shout out your reference, give credit. I think, you know, all artists appreciate being credited. So remember to do that.
Yes.
This snail is so cute.
I love snails. I have a funny story about snails, actually.
Give it to us. Give it to us.
My sister and I don't know, we're not great with spiders, but we've never been afraid of snails. And when it rains, you know, the snails come out, and my sister and I always used to collect snails. And at one point in time when we were kids, we had a snail farm, and we would mark the shells. I had blue snails and she had pink snails, and we would like make a little, I guess, terrarium style thing for them. It was basically just a shoebox with lots of leaves and stuff in it. And we were like, I'm gonna race these snails and things like that. I've always loved snails.
That is so cute, and what is it, just like adorable. Like, I just want to race these snails. It just is so heartwarming, you know, just like loving snails because they're snails is so cute.
I think they're really cute. I don't know. I might be weird in thinking that, but
I think they're really cute. I also had a pet snail, I think in like high school.
You actually had a pet snail?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just like found it and made it a pet. I didn't like go out and buy a special snail. I just like found a snail and kept it as a pet.
Amazing though.
And then it started like procreating.
What?
Because I think that they are asexual or something, like not asexual, there's a word for it that I'm missing, and hopefully the chat will come through, but they can like reproduce just like on their own. So I had like one snail, and then suddenly I had like 5 snails in the blink of an eye, because I wasn't paying attention, because, you know, so there's not much to do with your pet snail. You don't really need to give it that much attention.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe not all of them, but it happened to me at once. And then I just let them all go. I just let them go in the wild. Like, be free, my little snails.
Oh,
Oh, I love this little shell. Okay, so you've built like
whole bunch of
just circles,
circles.
whole bunch of circles building. I think this is really cool because some people find drawing really scary, and then when you just break it down into simple shapes,
Yeah.
it's not so big and bad, you know?
When I used to teach, it was the easiest way to break it down, to explain the concept of drawing. It's everything is made up of a shape, and the more complicated things are just multiple shapes stacked together. Once you work out what the shape is, then you can kind of build from there. But always keep it simple. There's no need to make your life complicated.
Oh, this is so cute.
Here you go, a rectangle squashed down, and we just kind of tweak it from there. But if I was trying to draw the shape as it is, I'm going to end up with a wonky, long, weird looking thing. And this way, at least I can kind of keep an eye on it and tweak it in a way that I'm not going to be messing with multiple parts, you know?
Yeah, it's a little bit more controlled.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to add these little tentacles or antenna or whatever.
Yeah. I had no idea those things were eyes when I was little, and I just thought it was funny that they would kind of like reach for things, and I would like stick my finger above their head and be like, it's over here, and just watch them like reach for my finger. It was
that is so funny. I forgot that they were eyes. I know that I knew that at some point, but you just reminded me of something I hadn't considered in a long time. That is really funny that that's their eyes. I feel like that's how they show them in cartoons too. Like they'll have like the eyeballs.
Yeah, like is it Gary?
Yeah.
From SpongeBob?
Yeah, I was like, what famous snail am I thinking of? That's the one. Famous snail. Oh, I love the little drag of, little body snail. So cute. I feel like this is really encouraging that you can just make any little thing cute, even if it's as like unconventionally appealing as a snail.
Right? I think that's one of the things I love about this particular challenge that I'm giving to myself, is that it's not easy to do, and you do have to kind of stop and think, well, what would take this from the realm of creepy to being a little bit cute, being a little bit appealing? Is this even possible to do? There are artists out there way more skilled than me that can do this in the blink of an eye, and I just don't know how. They do that sort of thing.
I'm sure. Just practice.
I mean, it is.
I'm sure if you recreated this a year from now, you would have an even better interpretation of it. Because we all grow a little bit every day.
I don't think I need this point here. I can get rid of that, and then again, like, you'll probably see this a lot more in effect tomorrow when I go into animation, because you hear me saying keep it simple a lot. What is definitely going to happen at some point tomorrow is that I'm going to overcomplicate the animation, and it's going to be a little bit jerky, and what's going to fix it is me removing frames.
Oh,
because I've overcomplicated it.
Interesting. That's fascinating because you have, your animation skills are so advanced that it's easy to kind of get ahead of yourself. And then be like, wait, actually, maybe that wasn't all that necessary, like, I get that. Like you were saying, you used to draw realistically, and now you're in this style. It's like, once you know a lot, you're able to pare down what you think like you really want as a part of your vision. It's like kind of interesting to see how people develop all these skills, and then they're like, actually, I think I like it just like this instead.
Yeah, right. I remember like when I started down my art career, I would only, and don't come for me if this is you, only draw anime, like the anime style. That was me 100%. Like, I loved my anime. I had manga everywhere. I was well into it. This is the sort of thing my sister and I grew up watching. So that really informed a lot of my art styles, and I would only draw that. And of course, when you go to an art school, the art teachers are not huge fans of it, and I can understand why now as a professional, but like that was my style. And kind of looking to what I'm doing now, it's like at one point I would not even have considered this like art, you know? It's like
Right.
it's too simple. Like, where is the skill involved, you know? But
But
it
the art is in
changes.
the vision, I think, right? Like whatever your vision is, it's not so much about the tech, you know,
It's
it's like
not
it's
even
not so
just
much about the
that.
technical stuff.
It's not even just that. It's art is so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
It is whatever you decide it is.
Yeah.
Like at one point, hyperrealistic was it for me, and then this cute style, and then it was anime, and at every stage of my journey, it was all art. I considered it art, and it made
Yes,
me
yes.
happy, and you know, I thought therefore it was, sort of thing.
I think that's so true. I think people at first get caught up doing what they think is art,
mm,
like putting this pressure of like, in order to be an artist, I have to make realistic art.
yeah.
But then as you move on, you realize, oh, it's not so much about that. It's way more about just like what I like making and what I want to put out into the world, whether that's hyper realistic painting, oil paintings,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, cute, adorable snails made in Illustrator. Like they both have value.
Absolutely. Like, goodness, I try to encourage people, like, if it makes you happy, then draw it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. If it makes you happy,
Yeah.
that's all it needs to do. It doesn't need to please me. It doesn't need to please anyone else. It's yours.
Yeah.
So do what makes you happy.
But there is a lot of this self, like pressure that you feel. I don't know where it comes from necessarily, but there is that pressure to be like, this is art, or feel a little bit like you have to take it more seriously, or, you know, but it's
Yeah,
always up to yourself.
I agree. I think there is this I don't know how to put it, but there is this idea of what an artist is, and it's not
Hmm.
true at all. The moment you enter the field, you realize it's all a lie. It's
Yeah.
not what you thought. It's not what your art teacher told you it is. It's completely different, and it's completely unique to absolutely everyone. There is no.
Yeah, everyone has their own art career, their own creative career, their own way to go
Mhm.
about it. Like, I really love that you do so much streaming while you're creating art. I really find that that's difficult because creating art is really personal. And to share
Mm,
it with the world while you're actively making it takes a lot of courage. And then there's people who like make in secret and they come out with like a collection of paintings
mm,
every 5 years. And that's their
mhm.
version of being an artist. So there is so many different ways to do it.
Definitely. I think for me, I wanted to challenge myself to create art in front of people,
Hmm.
because you know, when I first started streaming, I did it on Twitch to like no one, and I was sweating buckets because I was afraid that, you know, people are going to see the ugly stage of my drawing. Every drawing has an ugly stage, guys.
Yes.
Every single drawing. There is no way getting around it. Just embrace it.
Yeah, you have to go through the ugly stage for sure.
Absolutely. And just enjoy the process, because I think it's actually a lot more interesting to see the whole transformation of it going from, you know, one stage to the next. How did you get from the circle we started with to a cauldron? Like
Yeah,
you don't learn anything just from coming in and seeing at this stage, you
I
know?
100% agree. And I think kind of tearing down kind of the illusion and seeing the behind the scenes of how something is made makes it feel so much more approachable. And like if you know, for those watching, maybe they didn't previously think they could draw in Illustrator or animate in After Effects, but I'm sure you're going to make it by just watching you do it. We think, "Oh, okay, there's no like magic. Like you're just
Mm,
deliberately just slowly working at it and watching it come to life." I think that's really like underrated. I think cuz I think it's really cool to watch people work.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's so awesome.
I like because I learned something new for my that I can take back into my process, or just be inspired by seeing just like, oh, maybe I could create a complex animation for a future project just now that I know like a little bit more about just even the program, or feeling familiar, or seeing like the realistic file of somebody else can just make you feel a little bit more less pressure, I guess.
Yes.
What are you
I
looking
agree.
for here? A lizard tail?
A lizard tail.
We also have another suggestion that I thought was really good, which was
Oh yeah?
just a white bone.
Ah. Actually,
Right?
let's do that.
Let's do a little
That
white
one I can
bone.
do off
You
the
can
top
do-
of my head.
Yeah.
Little cartoony bone. Can do that.
Thank you to whoever said that. I think it was Cubert. Yes, a nice white bone.
Nice white bone.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally we want like maybe, I don't know, 6 items.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my idea anyway is for the lid to open and close twice, and after the second one it loops again, but you've got 3 different things in the stew each time minimum. If we have time and I can make more, then great, but at least 6 items minimum that I can rotate between.
Got it. Perfect.
Is the idea, because again I can get a little bit carried away. I think my regulars know this. Like with the ghost animation, I was like, oh my gosh, we could add this, oh my gosh, we could add this, and they're like, Storm, just stop, it's okay. Leave it
They're
alone.
like, wait, you've been streaming for so long.
Like,
okay, I think
Storm,
this is
leave it.
perfect. This is a perfect little illustration to make if you're a beginner with Illustrator. No, it's just
Yes.
rectangles and circles.
Yeah, absolutely. And afterwards I'm going to show you another cool tool in Illustrator that I'm going to implement after this as well, and see if I like the effect of. So Illustrator has something called the shape builder tool. So maybe I want to merge all this together, for example. So you select it all, select a shape builder tool, and when you hover over the shapes you can see it's sort of it changes color a little bit. It goes a little bit. Yeah, exactly. If you start clicking and dragging, it merges them together. You see, like that?
Oh.
So you click and drag and then it kind of builds it into one shape. So now I don't have those lines in between them. Now it's just the one shape instead.
Cute.
But I think I can probably bring them a little bit closer. I think I want these to kind of
merge a little bit more.
Yeah, which is, it goes back to what I was saying, the cool thing about Illustrator being quite generous with how far back you can go. Because I've merged all of those shapes and I've decided, actually I don't like it. I want to tweak it a little bit more. And it's given me the ability to do that because it's non-destructive like that.
Yeah, I think you're so right. You have a lot more flexibility here, and wow, that shape builder tool is very mesmerizing. It's just like magic.
And there we go.
Goes with the theme of the drawing.
Right?
Magical.
So now, instead of what would have been 5 shapes, 5 layers, we now just have the one because it's built it into its own shape. So there's our bone. Bone done.
Cute.
Back to the lizard tail. These are all very complicated looking.
Yeah, those are. What if you did a snake or something? That might be a little bit more.
Oh yes, snake.
More simple, right? Just like a loop and a little tail.
There's the snake.
More easily identifiable, I think.
Yes, this is the other thing you have to consider when you're simplifying shapes. It still needs to be identifiable. If
because that lizard tail might have just looked like a sort of long triangle with no. It would be hard to, unless you know a lot about lizards, you may not know that it's a lizard tail.
Well, someone knew quite a bit about crustaceans in chat, so I wouldn't put it past them. But
that's true.
How about this one? This one looks like
has a bit of a rattle on it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, everyone in the chat is encouraging each other to use Illustrator. So kind. I love this community. Okay. We have our snake reference. It's pretty creepy.
I've done the thing where I did the label thing. I did the wrong layer again. Okay. So here's another thing. Lock your layers. Name them, lock them, so you don't do what I'm constantly doing and clicking on things you shouldn't be. Right. So snakes are actually my favorite animals, if you could call them animals. I guess they're animals. Reptiles?
Reptiles.
Yeah,
A
they're my
reptile is an
favorite.
animal.
Oh,
They're
well,
your
there you go.
favorite animal?
Mm-hmm. The king cobra is
Uh,
actually my favorite.
of all the animals on Earth.
Yep, it is my favorite. I mean, I love
Wow.
cats and dogs too, but if you were to
Wait,
ask me, what's your
earlier you
favorite?
said snail.
I love
So
snails. I love them, but my favorite is the king cobra.
I love that. Okay, perfect. Cute. I'm glad that we can incorporate a snake into your illustration then.
Me too. Now, because of the nature of this one, I'm kind of tempted to freehand this one a little bit, because if I start with a rectangle, then I'm gonna have to really add so many more
Right.
points and things like that. So I think in
Okay,
this
so this is a new
instance we might,
process?
yes,
Okay.
slightly. So
You're working with the pen tool.
Yep.
Okay.
So the pen tool is kind of a click and drag affair. You can just kind of click and drag, and then it makes nice curves for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it depends. You have to go into each project knowing what tool you need, because they all behave differently depending on what you're doing, right? I mean, they all work fine. There's no right or wrong way, but
yeah, but there's some tools that are better for certain shapes. Like this one's, the pen tool is going to help you make a smooth, squiggly line versus maybe the brush tool or the pencil might make something a little bit more shaky. You don't know till you try it. You got to play with all the different tools. Or instead of playing with them yourself, you can watch Storm stream and learn from her. So,
yes, watch me struggle through it so you don't have to.
So you don't have to. Yeah. And you can watch her stream all the time on her own Behance. So maybe Wade can drop it in the chat, but she streams all the time. Do you have a stream schedule?
I try to. Usually I'm streaming Mondays and I think Thursdays at 3 p.m. BST. That's British Standard Time, I think. And I do that for about 2 hours each time, and we just kind of pick a project and we go from there.
There you go. So if you want to watch Stormy work even more on different projects, be sure to follow her Behance account so you can stay up to date with her streams. Wow, look at this little squiggly snake.
So here's another.
It's got a chunky tail.
Yeah. So if you see here, I've selected the pen tool, but this point is a little bit too pointy. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Alt key. When I get close enough to it, it's going to change its shape again. You see, it's got those two balls and a curve between them. That way I can just kind of click and drag in between those 2 points and kind of change the shape again. So I think I'm probably want to pull this in a little bit more, and then I can start tweaking a little bit. It's just a really nice way to kind of get in there and mess with things rather than just moving individual anchor points.
Right.
You just need to move the whole curve itself.
Yeah, that way you can just tweak it until your heart's content. To your heart's content. Okay.
Yes.
This snake just ate. And I also think the reference photo, just the snake, it's looking a little chunky in the middle, like it just ate.
He is looking a little chunky, isn't he?
It's cute. It makes him cuter, more approachable.
I think we should give him big eyes, I feel like he shouldn't be a scary snake even though he's in the stew.
Right, and that's why you're not scared of him. Exactly. That's why he can be friendly, because he's already been stewed. Okay.
Now, let me...
Yeah, what are you thinking? I'm not sure where you're going with this snake right now.
I am thinking of... changing the shape of the face. It's not quite a snake head yet, so I leave a lot of room to tweak things.
Got it.
Remember, guys, everything has an ugly stage.
Yeah, it needs that bulbous little
Exactly.
Snake head. Cute. Now remember everyone, while Stormy's working on the snake, if you have questions for Stormy on how, she illustrates within Illustrator, whether it be on the snake or any of the other icons we've created throughout the stream, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We have about 30 more minutes left with Stormy, so you want to get your questions in before it's too late, before we move on. So drop your questions and hit subscribe on the Adobe Live channel. Okay. Look at this little quirky snake.
I kind of want to add a pattern, so I'm wondering. There is something else to consider. I mean, it depends on how powerful your machine is. Mine's getting on up there in years now, so I try not to push it too hard. But
hit save.
I just hit save. You reminded me. Thank you. The more information that is stored in the layers, the more RAM intensive it's going to be when you bring it into After Effects. So I have in the past had something with lots of patterns and things in it, and I bring it into After Effects, and After Effects says no. So just bear in mind. I hadn't even
thought of that once you put it into After Effects, you're gonna have to, your computer's gonna have to keep up with After Effects. Oof.
It's a very powerful program. It's incredible, but
because it's so powerful, because of what it's doing, it does require a lot. So you have to be careful with making your illustrations too complex.
Yes.
Okay, so what kind of pattern are you thinking here? I initially thought you were gonna just do like the tail of the snake in the stew, but we've got a whole snake in here.
I'm kind of feeling like I could have like I've just changed my mind again.
Are you thinking like half a head on one side and half the tail on the other?
Yeah, I am now.
That's kind of cool. I mean, it's up to you. Stormy, this is your animation, okay? I just happen to have a mic.
See, this is what I like as well, because your ideas do end up changing like that. You can start with something and be like, actually, I think this works better, and that is totally fine and valid to do as well. So we're just going to chop his head off.
Chop his head off.
Close it off here.
You have a lot of elements to include. That's why I thought, part of the snake might be enough. And I think doing the head and the tail is like, if you ask me, that's the most important part of a snake.
Certainly the most recognizable part, and this is what we need, is for it to be recognizable.
Exactly.
As well. So I could do like the head here, like maybe a body segment here, and then the tail there.
Yeah, almost like a sea serpent type of illustration,
like the Loch Ness.
You can imagine that. Yeah, I like it. Makes it a little bit more mysterious that way too, right?
Yeah. Again, don't let me get too carried away here, guys, because I still have to animate this.
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
fine.
Tomorrow we're gonna come into a whole different illustration. She's like, I added a few things.
Probably.
Just more complex than we even could have imagined. Okay, I'm excited to see this take on the snake. Oh my goodness. Are those
his eyes?
Yes.
I was thinking, how do I want to do these eyes? You can't have the normal, like, yeah, there we go.
Oh my gosh. Suddenly everything's become very clear, and I understand exactly this kind of snake that we're going for, and I love it.
There we go. And he's got some patterns on his head. We can do a couple random shapes and then mask them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do one of these and lower the opacity there.
Since you said snakes are your favorite, would you ever have a pet snake? Like, are you that comfortable with snakes?
I think I am, but I'm not sure what they're the sort of animal that I would keep as a pet. Like, I feel like
I just got goosebumps just thinking about keeping a snake as a pet.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like snakes?
I feel like, I don't have a personal problem with snakes, but I don't need them personally involved in my life either. But like
That's
if
a
you
very
have a
diplomatic
snake,
way of saying that.
yeah, I'm not here to offend snake owners. I'm just saying I don't need one. I don't need to know a snake on a personal
Mm,
level. They
mm.
can exist.
I
But
don't know.
you wouldn't even keep one though, you said.
No, I don't think so. I don't feel the need to own them. I kind of like to admire them from afar, and I think that's what I like about snakes is that they
Oh,
are quite dangerous, but they're
yeah.
fine if you leave them alone. They're kind of like minding their own business, and you can kind of enjoy
I guess you're
the
right. You know, they're
coolness of
not
them.
menacing necessarily.
No, it's like most snakes give you a warning to say, "Hey, leave me alone."
And that is really decent of them.
Yeah, to be fair,
They have some
not
decency.
unlike some cats, you pet them a couple too many times and then you get bitten and you're like, "Hey, I thought you wanted this." And they're
You're
like,
making a
"No."
really good case for snakes.
That being said, I love cats too. Like I've had cats all my life growing up, but I
I
also
love
know
that.
that they are fickle.
That's great. Yeah, cats are fickle, so snakes are a little bit more predictable. I grew up in Florida, which is known for gators. How do you feel about alligators?
I don't know. I have never seen one in real life and they sound terrifying. They're basically dinosaurs, aren't they?
Yes, and they just like chill. Like
Do
they
they chill?
this is why I'm thinking about it because snakes are not threatening, right? They're just you're saying you can just admire them. So
Yeah.
are gators. They are not the gators are they're too tired to be bothered with
Too tight.
humans. You know, they're
Really?
just sunning. They don't want any
Mm.
of your commotion or attention. And so, it kind of reminded me of gators and both of them are reptiles, so kind of makes sense.
Uh, my goodness. Okay. You've given me something to think about. I would not have thought of snakes as gators as chill.
They are very chill. They're so lazy. Um, yeah, in Florida, you grow up with gators. I'm not threatened by gators. I'm not gonna like have it as a pet though.
Right.
It's different. I love how this snake is looking in this cauldron.
He's just like, I'm here. I'm not too happy about it, but I exist.
And what's that you're drawing? I'm curious. I'm a
So
little.
this is going to be the body segment. I'm kind of ignoring this here. Not what I
Okay,
want to
okay.
do. It's kind of build this body segment. I'm probably gonna copy this pattern from here and put it.
Interesting.
So I'll talk through this for everyone that might have missed
Mhm.
it, but I made a whole bunch of shapes. I grouped them together and then I put them underneath a clipping mask, which is why you can't see them outside of its shape. So I'm going to do that again over here. So he's going to have his patterns, so he's not just a green noodle.
Yeah. The pattern gives him a little context.
Yeah.
Gives us some context. I just want to give you a heads up, Stormy, that we have I think 15 minutes on the stream. So
What?
just so you know.
Oh,
Just
my
so you know, because we're
goodness.
having so much fun. I'm sure it's hard to keep track of time there.
It is. So another tip with the shape builder tool, while it can build things together, it can also take them away, and that's just holding the Alt key. I'm not sure if you can see the key. Oh, hello. But if I'm hovering over it, it's got a plus. If I hold the Alt key, it takes away. So I can use that to basically make a new shape that has a hole in it. So I'm just
cool.
gonna do that again, probably. Yeah, and now I can kind of cut this in half.
Using the scissor tool. Okay,
using
yeah.
the scissor tool.
She switched over to the scissor tool for anyone
Yeah, I
who
need
missed
one
that.
of those hello, what have I done? Oh, I didn't have it selected, did I?
Hey, that happens.
Oh, that was the end path? Oh, that's why it was upset with me. Okay.
Interesting. Lots of things can happen.
It's true.
When we're live streaming, things don't work as you want or as you're used to sometimes.
It's true. Oh,
Sometimes.
okay, I know what I'm gonna have to do here.
Sometimes
It's misbehaving.
I just delete
Yeah.
anchor points sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's proper, you guys, but I
There
do.
are no rules here. You guys should know this by now. There are no rules.
Art is lawless. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm curious here. Haha. She's doing it a different way, you guys, to get the same exact effect.
There we go. Ah,
oh.
wrong thing. Hey, yeah.
We were all holding our breath. Okay, perfect.
Right. And now I can go find my shape. I've overlaid it. So basically I need to put on top, I've duplicated the shape underneath to the top. That's what's going to be my mask. With that top layer and my pattern selected, I'm going to right click, make clipping mask, and there we go. But now you can see it's still over.
Got it. Yeah.
Stroke a little bit. So what I tend to do, again, I don't know if it's proper, I will copy that layer again, and then I'm just going to remove the fill. So now I've got the shape. Still,
this is not a proper stream. No, I'm kidding. Anything is proper. I like that. That was what I was thinking you could do. Yeah. So I'm glad that we were both using the same kind of techniques here. I love it. Oh my gosh, this snake is really coming together, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually really liking it. I like it a lot more than the original idea, which, you know, I like it when that happens. Again, yeah, just simplify it, guys. Keep it simple.
Yeah, sometimes Seriously. You gotta do a different interpretation and it works a little bit better, especially when you're working in such a stylized kind of world. You really have to be like creative with the way you bring things into it. It doesn't have to be the entire snake.
No.
Oh, cute. Oh my gosh, I love it.
And there is his tail. And then we'll just copy the pattern again, do the same thing. We'll probably just shrink this a little bit, change the shape so it looks a little bit different. Overlay this in the place that I'm happy. Copy that. Select that in the pattern, right click, make clipping mask, and then I'm going to copy the stroke as well. And there we are. So now we've got our snake in the cauldron.
It's adorable. And I feel like by having made the snake 3 pieces, it gives you some flexibility with animation, no?
Absolutely. It's a really good point.
Cool. Okay, so we're at the 10-minute mark, 10 minutes till the end here, Stormy. So, you know, what do you want to do with the last minutes of the stream?
I'm wondering how many items have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, did get to the 6. Yeah. So I'm happy with that. Did get to 6.
And that's without the bubbles, which I'm sure...
Well, the bubbles we can actually build into After Effects because it depends on the way that I'm moving them. Sometimes it's just easier to build natively into After Effects some of the shapes. They don't always need to be imported.
I'm interested in learning that. Yeah.
Because I'm probably just going to be animating those moving up and down. And again, the less I have to import and move over, the lighter my workload is going to be, the less my computer has to chug at me. So we might...
Yeah, that makes sense. It'll be smarter.
Yeah. So,
Are you going to put everything in the cauldron or do you import everything as just the objects?
So we'll export them and import them as separate objects.
Oh, actually. Interesting.
See, I've never done it.
I've never done it like that. So that's why I'm like, tell me exactly.
How have you done it?
I don't know. I guess I assemble everything and then I bring it in and break it all and try and make it work. But that's because I'm like hacking it together versus I don't have an animator brain. You do. I need you to explain how this is coming together in your eyes, like how you're going to prep this for tomorrow.
So because we have like the dynamic link between a lot of Adobe programs, you can import the Illustrator file as is with its layers as it is, and you can kind of go in there. You have functions over this side where you can release things to layers, release things to sequences and build, especially if you've been working on one layer and then you need to start separating them, which makes it a lot easier. But sometimes I might just drop them all into the, where is it? Asset export.
I've never used this. I am very excited.
From there, which we might do because, you know, we've only got 10 minutes left, so it might be useful to walk through that. And in that way, we need to put it on the artboard, I think. Oh, I'm running out of space. It's fine. So this way I can make sure everything is separated, and since they're all in layers, I can kind of just select them. So like the base, for example, once you've got that all highlighted, you hit the plus key, you can generate a single asset from the selection. So
wow, I had no idea. I thought you were going to build out multiple artboards for it.
No, don't.
Clearly, I'm doing everything in the weirdest way, guys. This is really important. I feel like this is blowing some minds right here. Okay, and so just by selecting that layer, you're able to export that asset?
Yeah, just like that, cool. Generate a single asset. So I've got them all here, and and they update in real time as well. So if I was to, for example, change, let me get a bit closer so I can see what I'm doing. If I was to change the color of the eye to pink, it changes it up there. So I don't have to
wow. Oh my gosh.
To reselect it. So that's all dynamic.
I'm so behind. This is amazing.
It's a useful trick. I don't remember how I stumbled across that. I think I was like, how do I export things? I'm like going up here and going to file export, and that's just not the most efficient way. And thank goodness for like different YouTube tutorials and things like that, and for streams where people are just like, oh, did you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. There's a million ways to do everything. So seeing how your process works, I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably be using these tools if they're already right there, you know?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So now you have all these assets. I want to give you a heads up. We have like 5 minutes. But you know, we're good. Oh, finally the snake. How are you going to export the snake? All separate
in different
pieces?
Parts, yeah.
Okay.
So what I should probably do actually is group all these segments together as well.
Yeah, so here's where this organization comes in, right?
Yes. The only downside to doing it this way is that if you were to update something in the Illustrator file, these aren't going to update dynamically. It's only if you import the Illustrator file itself. If you decide to go back and tweak something, then it will update dynamically in After Effects. So it depends on which way you want to go about it, but you have got multiple options. But I don't think we're planning on coming back to this.
Got it. Okay, we have a really good question here from Jane Bradbury. Do you export everything as PNG and not as vector?
I tend to do as PNG, to be honest with you. I know I've not used vector, but that's just my personal preference, really. I don't think there is
a significant difference, probably.
No.
Well, really. Jane, you can give it a shot. You can give it a shot in PNG and vector and see what works best for you. Your workflow, I bet PNG works nicely, so why not?
So I think that's all ready to export and then import tomorrow.
Sweet. Oh my goodness. We have had so much fun with all these different assets. I'm so excited to see them come to life tomorrow. I am blown away by this asset export window that I had no idea existed. So cool. I'm just like really excited to see this process from AI to After Effects. I feel like that's exactly where I'm clearly missing something, and I'm sure a lot of other people are really curious to see how you build something in Illustrator and then bring it over to After Effects to make it all come together. So you guys, you have to come back for tomorrow's stream to see Stormy make this all animated and make it like this Halloween, beautiful, cute cauldron. Stormy, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this amazing stream. Thanks for chatting with all of us, getting into a small popcorn debate, and just getting in the spirit of Halloween, all of us together here. You've taught us so much how to build an illustration using the different tools in Illustrator, how to use the shape builder, and most recently, how to export a little bit more in a more smart way. So thank you so much for showing all of that today. Remember,
Thank
you
you.
guys, Stormy, where can people find you? Where should they go to follow your work?
So you can either follow me here under Storm Stewart, or if you want to keep up with me, you can follow me under Storm J Stewart on Instagram.
Perfect. You guys, that's your homework. Go follow Storm. Come back tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific for part 2 with Storm. Join us as she brings her images from Illustrator into After Effects and starts to animate them. You're not going to want to miss that. And remember, Adobe Live will be back tomorrow for a new episode of Get Social with Andy Lambert and Jordan Ellis on the Express channel. Jordan and Andy will give real life insights into creating and managing communities that drive brand growth, along with a host of actionable takeaways that will help you build your own community. For tonight, again, like I said, your homework is to go ahead and follow Storm everywhere. Remember to subscribe to our Adobe Live channel on YouTube so you don't miss the next stream. And thank you all for being here today. You guys have been amazing. Storm, your work has been amazing, and I'm so excited for tomorrow.
Thank you
Thank you again.
guys.
Thank you again, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.